Hi, I'm California State Senator Joe Dunn. The story you are about to see concerns a little-known but very tragic chapter in American history. It's about a time when our nation illegally expelled over 1 million U.S. citizens for only one reason: they were of Mexican descent. It's now time for our nation to correct this injustice.
The American government, particularly through the Hoover administration, conducted programs of massive sweeps, deportation campaigns that rounded up not just Mexican nationals, but also American citizens of Mexican descent, and created a climate of fear in the United States. This lost generation of Mexican Americans. This is a national movement that occurred, a national tragedy, not just something for the states of Texas or California, not just for the Southwest, but for the entire nation.
My name is Ruben Jimenez. I was born in 1924 in Los Angeles, California. When I was growing up, we lived in a duplex that my father had built. We lived on one side and we rented the other side. We had all the conveniences at home, luxuries. We had chandelier. We had all the electric appliances. My dad used to work 3 or 4 days a week with a gas company. My older brothers used to work 2 or 3 days in a foundry. So we never had to ask for economic help from the government, and we had everything that we needed. When I was 7 years old, my father was approached by Fernando España. Mr. España worked for the government agency. Mr. España insisted, he connived, he pressured, not only trying to get us out of Los Angeles and into Mexico, but other families. And my father finally gave in because Mr. España pointed out that soon after he would not have the 2 or 3 days of employment because that employment would go to Anglo employers. Although I had 4 siblings and myself that we were American citizens, our rights were violated. My parents were legally residents, but at the time they crossed the border and the authorities stripped them of their right to come back into the United States. When we got to Mexicali, we found nothing. It was bare land. There was only a mesquite tree. We had no living quarters, no running water, no electricity. We all had to camp under this tree until my father built some living quarters. At the beginning, it was like a shack. It was made out of bamboo, then it was plastered with mud. We had to walk approximately about 15-20 miles to school. I resented the way that we were taken from United States and taken to Mexico, and we had to struggle to live in a place where we had nothing and left everything that all the possessions, the material possessions that we had when we lived in Los Angeles. Although I regretted what the American government did to me and my family, I'm an American and I want to serve my country. And so I went to the service. 1943 to 1946, We would like at least to have an apology, a public apology, because I think that we should have it coming.
My name is Emilia Castañeda. I was born in Los Angeles, California, April the 10th, 1926. My father and mother bought a home in Boyle Heights on Folsom Street, right in back of Malabar School, where I attended school. My dad was a bricklayer and a stonemason. He knew the whole construction work. My mother was a housekeeper for a wealthy family on Adams Street. And one day we came from school, and my dad told us that we were leaving for Mexico. We were going to go to Mexico, and we didn't know the language because we weren't allowed to speak Spanish in the school or the playground. If we did, we were punished. What little belongings we had, they were left behind. What we could pack in a large trunk, that's all we carried, and what we were wearing. The day we left, we went to the station, and it was very dark at the station. And it was, I remember it being, maybe it was dawn. It was dawn because it was awfully dark. There was a lot of people. There was many people. You could hardly walk there at the station. And I remember a lot of people crying, like us children crying. Adults were crying. It was strange for me when we arrived in El Paso. We had the officers told us that we had to walk on some trays of disinfectant so we wouldn't contaminate the cattle. When we arrived at the station, we were told that we were going to Mexico. We were forced to go to Mexico. We didn't want to go. We went on this train, but I really don't know if it was, it was very crowded. I don't know, since I was a little girl, if they had locked up the trains or anything like that, which I did hear that they had locked the trains so we wouldn't be able to get off the trains. We arrived in Gomez Palacio, Durango, Mexico. There was no running water. We had if we had to use a bathroom, if we had to go, we had to use which was their backyard. And I wasn't used to it, having to squat after having running water and toilets in Los Angeles, in our home. It was terrible for me. The sleeping conditions that were there, it was so rat infested on account of the cotton that I was afraid to sleep at night. I was afraid that the rats were going to crawl on me and bite me. And my dad strung up wires from the walls so we could hang up our food, what little food we had, so the rats wouldn't get to it and eat it. I must have been about, I don't think I was even 9 years old, not even 10 years old. I don't think I was 10 years old when I quit going to school. Because I had to survive. It was an injustice what they'd done to us, being American citizens, for them to send us to Mexico when we weren't Mexicans. Well, I would like for them to apologize, for the federal government to apologize.